go. Hello, Grand Strand. This is Richard Florzak, the private chef to the stars, and welcome back to Talking About Food. Remember, it's the only local food commentary show on the Grand Strand. We talk about restaurants, we interview chefs and local business owners, as long as it has to do with food. I'm willing to talk about it, and I'm going to jump right into this one. I have with me in the studio the owner of the page, The Scoop on Myrtle, Flavio Medeiros. He is your go-to source for all things Myrtle Beach. He talks about everything. He talks about the news, what's going on, different businesses. But when he's in the studio, we're going to be talking about food. He's posted many times about the food scene, which is what caught my eye and wanted to have him on because he really dives deep into everything that's going on. Flavio, welcome to Talking About Food.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is great. And yes, talking about food is always a very good thing. Always brings everyone together.
That's what I usually say in my intro. Nothing brings people together like great food. And that's what I like to do now, talk about it. I'm a little beyond opening restaurants or working as a private chef. I just love eating and talking about it. So how long have you been here in the Grand Strand?
Yeah, I've been in the Grand Strand with my family. I'm married, have 3 boys, and we've been here it's about to be 4 years. Now,
you post about all things Myrtle Beach. Is it just Myrtle, or do you go outside that area?
Yeah, we go a bit outside of that. I'd say some of the outskirts, such as, Conway and perhaps Little River area, so just kind of those outskirts, but not too far. I'm not going all the way to, say, Florence or Georgetown all that much.
Right.
Unless there's something that really kind of catches my eye. I think for the Olympics, there was an Olympian that won those from Georgetown, for instance, and that was good news to share.
Oh, of course.
I think that's close enough, right? They're right down the road from us and things like that. But yeah, normally Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle and surrounding areas.
Yeah. So you would report on something from, say, Myrtle's Inlet or Surfside?
Yes, definitely. All the time.
Very cool. All right, so let's talk about food. If you don't mind, I'm going to run down a list of some of the best ofs. And if you don't have an answer, that's fine. People listening may offer their suggestions, through Facebook or whatever. If we don't know, you or I don't know the answers to some of our favorite places.
Sure.
And that's how your content will grow. And that's sort of the sense of what you're trying to provide in the community. But this particular segment is going to be The Scoop on Myrtle, talking about food. Overall, how do you like the food scene here? Before you answer that, I still feel new here. I mean, I'm coming up like you. You're 4 years. I'm going to be 4 years in August, and I still feel new.
Yeah, that's true. What the heck constitutes as not being new, right? Because every time I tell people that I'm like, yeah, I just moved here not too long ago, and then I do the math, and I'm like, it is 4 years. That's to me, that's pretty decent,
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you find the food scene overall?
Yeah, overall, I do think, which is why it's great that you have this podcast, honestly, to talk about this with different guests and all that, to kind of find those great places, because I think it's a mix. We do have some of the, tourist type places that, a lot of people kind of go to and just, lack of better words, accept what food it is there and their prices. But then there's a lot of other places, including outskirts, like we talked about, that I think are really good gems and really good places to eat and really good food. That, for lack of better words, would be like undiscovered places.
Yes, yes, and those are my favorite. I've often say, and I've some of the listeners have experienced, that I'll talk about some of the fine dining places, which I enjoy. But my heart and soul is in the mom and pop, privately owned, small businesses. Yeah, I love helping them out too if I can.
Yeah, me too. And that's why when I see, if anyone follows our page or anything like that, they'll notice that anytime I see a mom and pop place doing something great in the community, or they're I don't know, they're opening up a new place, and so they're new altogether. I love sharing that because there's hopes and dreams there. There's somebody working hard to kind of get their restaurant going, and how difficult the restaurant industry is, and I think they can use that help.
Do you ever get, and we'll get into the different places, but do you ever get pushback? You'll be talking about a place, and and you say, hey, folks, this is a great place I discovered, and then somebody will post something and say, well, it's not that great, or
yeah. I'm not sure what to do with that either. I think at the end of the day, everyone does have their opinions, right? And some places, it's kind of like the Apple versus Android thing. Half the planet loves Android, the other half loves Apple, and I think with food, it's the same way, and I think I've gotten to accept that. If I post something like that, you're right. I've had comments before in that post of, love this place and go there all the time. And then you got places, or people bashing it and saying, I think they're awful, or they're overpriced, or whatever. And I'm like, well, maybe that was their experience. I don't know.
It happened to me right before you came here. I saw a post on Facebook looking for. They were new to the area and looking for a good Chinese place, and then a bunch of people were listing off these places, and I'm thinking to myself, really? Why would you send somebody there? But once again, it's food is subjective, and it was my opinion. What's the best hot dog in the area?
That's a really good question. It's I think Surf Dogs.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. I do. I like Surf Dogs.
Yeah, they're pretty good. It's funny you say that because hot dogs is like my guilty pleasure. I love hot dogs when I go to different places, but around here I haven't had too many yet at places actually. But Surf Dogs would probably be up there. Yeah,
I like that. I asked them to come on the show. I hope it's just because they forgot, not that they don't want to come on. I just as an aside, I went to the Myrtle's Inlet Oyster Roast over the weekend, and they had a food truck park there. Black Cat Kitchen. Josie, the chef, she's been on the show, and I tried one of her hot dogs. I've tried other things, but I tried, it's called the Aloha dog. Hebrew National all beef dog, which is off to a good start. Gochujang ketchup. Gochujang is a Korean spice. Arugula spicy pineapple relish. Nori aioli. Aioli is like a mayonnaise, scallion, cilantro, mint, crushed pork rinds. It was unbelievable.
Sounds a lot packed into that.
Yeah, and I'm not typically attracted to things like that, but she's become a friend, and I'm going to support her in any way I can. And here's another thing: the fact that there's a pineapple relish, I never do the sweet savory thing. It just doesn't work for me. It was outstanding. So. Speaking of food trucks, a number of food trucks owners have been on the show, and they've all sort of hinted at the fact that they have a difficult time sometimes setting up in Myrtle. I'd like to see that change.
Yeah, I think so. First off, are you a hot dog aficionado? Because you led with hot dog on here on.
I wouldn't say aficionado. I think Hebrew National is one of the best.
Yeah.
I love Sabret. I wouldn't say aficionado.
Okay, so okay, just asking because you led with that. I did. I think on the last podcast, I think you said you are a burger, a big burger freak, right?
Yeah, pizza the most.
Okay, so pizza the most and burgers too.
After that.
Yeah, so to your comment you posed now. Yeah, I think I don't know. Do we have enough food trucks in the area? Do you think we should have more for how kind of widespread this area is?
Well, I've often said that since moving here, I can see that the food scene, is a bit behind the times when it comes, in comparison to major cities, which isn't a bad thing. It's just I sometimes feel like I can see what's coming. And I'm telling you that food trucks are the next craze, and I'd like to see it a little easier for them in the community.
Yeah, and I think I've heard you say that, yes, there's a lot of red tape for them to get through, but certainly less than restaurants. And with all the festivals that we have here in the area, events and things like that, I would think we should have a good amount of food trucks in the area.
Right, I agree. Speaking of burgers, what's your favorite burger? You know what? I'm not going to say favorite. What do you think is the best burger?
When I think that, so many burgers come into mind. But I think in Conway, Take a Bite Burger is really good burgers.
I don't know that place. Explain that.
Yeah, so it's they do smash burgers as well, and various different types. Really small, mom and pop place like we were talking about.
Yeah.
But they have a pretty good following, and they're kind of right in the Conway Myrtle Beach line on 501 there, and in a plaza. So they're really good.
What's their name again?
Take a Bite.
Take a Bite in Conway.
Yeah, so I would put them up there.
Yeah, so that's one of your favorites. Best pizza.
Yeah, so pizza, geez, anyone who follows the page knows I rant a lot about pizza. So when it comes to pizza,
Now you're from Rhode Island.
I'm from Rhode Island, so keep in mind up there, pan pizza is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so not thin, not deep dish, pan, so kind of in the middle. And when I moved here, I find that everywhere tries to be New York style.
Yeah.
Okay. So whether or not they
Got
accomplish
a little chip on your shoulder.
yeah. Well, whether or not they accomplish it, they all try to be New York style. So I just wish a little bit of variety would be good. Let's see some other types of pizza. So actually, down in Merle's Inlet, they're closed now, but Old Chicago Pizza had a really good pan pizza there.
Okay.
And but they're closed. So I actually like pizza from Scotto's, their Sicilian pizza in particular.
I haven't had their Sicilian, but I've had their New York style, and I like that quite a bit. So that would be your go-to for pizza.
Yeah, because it's thick, like more like a pan pizza that. So that's where I'm able to get that.
The Rhode Island style isn't as thick as Sicilian.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not as thick. It's just that the crust is nice and like buttery the way it is, and the crust itself is a little bit thicker. So if you got a bunch of toppings on there, that way you can kind of have the pizza without the toppings going everywhere. So yeah, it's a nice pizza.
10:30 in the morning, and you've got me hungry already.
Yeah, it's pizza, burgers, dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
Could you eat pizza early in the morning?
Yes. Guilty. I've done it before.
I've often said I could eat pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When I was single, I probably did many, many, many times. What about an ethnic restaurant? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, I think I have to try some more ethnic places around here, but I do like Mexican food a lot. So I do like for a quick bite to eat and for tacos. My wife and I really enjoy Two Taco.
Oh, I love.
Yeah.
You know who turned me on to that was the Myrtle Beach Foodie Babe.
Yeah.
She was, as a matter of fact, she was on one time, and she was on the earlier part. I had 2 interviews to do, and she was telling me about Two Taco, and I thought I had only remembered that there was one like up in Myrtle Beach, and she goes, "Oh no, they just opened one over in Surfside." I said, "What?" After I was done with her interview, I ran over. And I had a number of different selections over at Two Taco.
Yeah.
Came back and talked about it in the next segment on the show. I think it's terrific.
Yeah, their tacos. Good. Yeah, it's really good. It's authentic.
What do you like there?
Yeah, so I like their chorizo tacos. My wife and I both get that like every time, which is too bad because I want to try the rest of their menu, but I can't get past it because I'm like, I need that again. Yeah, I think when you find something at a restaurant you really enjoy, that's always like a good and a bad thing.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm going to have that as a topic sometime. Is that I feel there are restaurants that I go to for exactly what you just said. I'm going there to have a number of different things that I know that I love. And then there are other restaurants that I go to that I know that are good. And I say, show me what you've got.
Right. Yeah, so the chorizo taco does it for me. They're really good. I have it the authentic way, just cilantro and onion on it, and it tastes really good. But their loaded fries are good. I have had their chicken burrito. So overall, I just think all their food is good there.
Have you had their birria, the slow cooked beef?
No.
Oh,
my son did. He was a fan.
Yeah. They give you this little side cup of broth. That you're supposed to pour over the
It was cooked in,
Yeah, and I could drink it like Gatorade. It was so delicious. Fine dining? Any interest in fine dining?
I'd say my favorite is Martini up in North Myrtle Beach.
I don't know that.
I think I think you defined fine dining pretty well, right? You were saying, a place where not only is the food really good, the service, right? That the servers just kind of know when to come to you, and
Yeah.
they give you that kind of really great service that, quite frankly, is sometimes hard to find. Sometimes at restaurants, that is my complaint, is the service.
Yeah.
I've never been a server, but from somebody who eats out way too much, I think I would know what it takes to do it well.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does blow my mind that someone doesn't have that intuition to say, well, I just served them this. I may want to check if they need refills. I might want to see if they need condiments that they, and sometimes people don't do that. They'll disappear for a while. And some would say, well, maybe they're very busy. No, at times they're not.
Yeah.
They're just not thinking about that.
The first fine dining place I ever worked at was at a hotel in Bel Air, Los Angeles, which is, I think it still is one of the most expensive real estates in the world. And anyway, I worked at this hotel called the Bel Air Hotel, and their dining room was as quiet. I mean, it had, piped in music, but it was quiet. The servers approached the table. They didn't have anything that they wrote down the order. They stood there. They explained. And once they got into the kitchen, it was like a madhouse in there, you know. But as soon as they would come back out into the dining room, very quiet, peaceful. It was like I don't know. I don't know how they did that. But martinis,
martini.
What kind of food?
Yeah, so I always recommend them to everybody. I like everything from their ambiance. They have nightly music, like jazz music, nice background. So if you're celebrating anything with anyone, that's a really great place from an ambiance standpoint. Very nice inside. As far as the food is concerned, they have a little bit of everything. You can get various steaks there. You can get anything, even casual wings. One of my favorites there is their meatloaf plate. I'm a comfort food guy. I like meatloaf, and they do it over some mashed potatoes. And I'll tell you, that meatloaf, I don't know what they pour over it, but it's amazing. Just keep doing it. It's just it goes back to that thing that when I go there, it's like I want to try other things, but I love that meatloaf plate. Yeah, it's a really good plate there.
Yeah.
But overall, I think they're and they have seafood and a little bit of everything like that. But it's a really great place. I hope you do try it sometime, and everyone else listening. To give it a try. But that's my wife and we really like that place.
Nice presentation.
And just like we were talking about, the servers are really good.
Yeah.
Check in with you. They know their stuff. They definitely don't have a lot of turnover, because when we go there, it's just, the same servers you see.
That says a lot.
Yeah,
that says a lot in that business. That's all there is turnover. So, Flavio of the Scoop on Myrtle, what's your go-to? You and your wife, you don't want to cook. You know that it's like a no-brainer. Let's just go where?
Yeah, so, and that happens often. I'm saying this to a private chef, of course, but I'm saying that happens often, that we don't want to cook and we're like, let's just grab something. So for us, that place is Zeeton, if it's in the morning breakfast.
How do you spell that?
Zeytin.
Oh, I know that. Yeah, the Myrtle Beach Foodie Babe talks about that.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people talk about there, and I think for good reason.
Is that specifically a breakfast place?
It's breakfast and lunch, and they also, I believe, now on the weekend actually open for dinner.
Oh wow!
Which I haven't had them for dinner, so I've had them for breakfast, and it's a Mediterranean kind of flair on breakfast. So it's really interesting. Breakfast, they have falafel and things. So we were talking before about, unique things, and they certainly have that. But at the same time, they have staples and favorites that people would like omelets and things like that.
What else? Anything else?
Sole Luna comes to mind.
Sole Luna.
Yeah.
Now, where is Zeytin?
That's over in the bottom of International, kind of near 31 there. So,
and then Sole Luna is where?
Also near there. And but Sole Luna has Latin, Mexican food, nice little vibe there as well. They're a small place, a little small. Sometimes you can get there and it's packed, but they're really good.
Yeah. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner at Sole Luna?
I believe just lunch and dinner.
Lunch and dinner. Yeah. What comes to mind? What's a dish from there?
Same thing. I do like their tacos, but they have some really great street corn fries.
Yeah.
And they just kind of throw everything at it, and it's, I like it. Yeah. Some loaded fries and everything.
Yeah. Now you got me really hungry. Great. Are there any restaurants that come to mind that you just feel like you'd like to talk about?
I mean, breakfast is a big thing.
Yeah.
Around here, I think there's some good breakfast spots. Recently discovered croissants is really good in the Grand Dunes area.
I've heard about that.
I think they're by the owners of Hook and Barrel, which is
that's
right.
Heidi. I can't remember her
Yeah,
last
so
name.
they're right next door to them, but the same kind of ambiance there as well. It's like a really modern, fresh, feel. Everything inside is white and airy and beachy and that sort of thing. But
I have been to her Hook and Barrel around the corner, which I thought was quite good.
Yeah. So croissants is good, and one of the things I like there is their deviled eggs. I mean, you don't see that everywhere, right? So I think that's my other advice to restaurants too. Is if a lot of times people say, "Well, there's too many restaurants around here. Some of them are going to fail." And I think if I'm a restaurant owner, I'm trying to come up with some unique menu items, right?
Yeah.
That way, it's going to keep people going there if they can't get it somewhere else.
Right. Where do you see yourself as far as your page, The Scoop on Myrtle, in say 3 years from now? Where would you like to be?
That's a good question. When I started this, I didn't think it was going to get this big, this quick, and it certainly has done very well. Facebook is currently the main channel, over 32,000 followers there.
Wow.
And Instagram, I kind of ignored for a while, but I just now went to it. So we're approaching about 1,000 there. But, I just want to be known as, if anyone is hanging out at home with, anyone else and they're like, hey, what is there to do? How do you normally find things to do or whatever? I want someone to say, you know what, you got to follow Scoop on Myrtle.
He's the go-to.
Yeah, I want you to do that. And in addition to the page, we also have a weekly newsletter I send out every Sunday evening to everyone. And that newsletter is kind of like your itinerary for the week, really, around here. It just has the local news that's been happening. It has your events. It has the highlight of live music coming up for the weekend. So you can just save that email for the week, and there you go. There's your itinerary of things to do in the area. So I take pride in that, some people do just that, because if I'm late or don't send it out, trust me, I get people saying, hey, I didn't see the email. Did I miss it?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So
that's
now,
a Cadillac problem.
Yeah. So now everyone is holding me to that, hey, Sunday evening, you better send it out.
Wow, that's great. There you have it, folks. It's one-stop shopping. You want to know what's going on in the community, especially food. Flavio Medeiros, he knows it. He's got the scoop on it. That's the Scoop on Myrtle. And Flavio, thank you so much for coming into the studio today. Everybody listening, you got to follow. I mean, it's like a no-brainer. But anyway, Flavio, thanks so much for coming in to talk about food, and I hope you come back.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that was Flavio Medeiros. He owns the Facebook page, The Scoop on Myrtle Beach. He really knows this area. He encompasses a lot of information, news, weather, everything, but he loves food, and that's why he was here. But we have somebody else in the studio. I think it's her third time on, and if it was up to me, it would be every week with me. She's Amy Everhart. She's the Myrtle Beach Foodie Babe, and she's right up there with the tops of people who know what's going on in the food scene. Amy, welcome back to Talking About Food.
Thanks for having me.
A question for you, Amy. Do you see other influencers in the area as competition for you? Is that the way you perceive it?
No, absolutely not. So when I first started this account, I knew that I wanted to create the culture that I wanted. And I quickly, amongst my friend group, created this culture of we all bring a different, unique style to the table. If you look at other people's content, it's an art form and they're putting it out in a certain way that's different from another person and different from another person. So there's no reason to see each other's competition. We're creating content maybe for the same places, yes, but we're putting our own artistic spin on it, I guess you can say.
Yeah, I get it.
And so I really tried to embrace new people that are coming onto the scene. I mean, there's so many accounts with the word Myrtle Beach in it. And if there's a younger influencer, newer influencer, they're building up their following, I try to be the biggest cheerleader for them.
Yeah.
Because they have their own unique spin. And ultimately, we all have the same goal. We want to help these restaurants. We want to help these small businesses.
Yeah, that's a great point you made. Is it better for a business that one influencer is backing them, or 10?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great point. Oh, that's good. I never thought about that. So tell me what's up. Can we talk about Pizza Squared?
Sure.
It's your husband's Detroit style pizza business. I had it. It's fantastic. Tell me what's going on with that.
Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. He's currently looking for a location in the area.
Oh, for like a brick and mortar.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Let's hear about it.
Just kind of looking for the right location. Does it want to be in Conway, downtown Myrtle Beach? Trying to find the right one. We thought we had a location, and there was a stipulation that there could be no pizza.
Oh, right. They probably have a
they
contract.
have an Italian restaurant in the same strip mall.
I see.
So.
Yeah. Well, I put that into my contract when I signed the contract for Flame Pizzeria. Yeah. So he's going the brick and mortar way. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about idea wise what he's got in mind?
Yeah, so he wants to do kind of the Little Caesars style. So you have your hot and ready pizzas. You can just come and pick up. You can order online on a mobile app or at a kiosk in store. And he just really wants to make it quick, efficient, and obviously delicious.
Efficient, yeah. Well, he doesn't have to worry about delicious. That's already done. So what's happening in the Grand Strand? I mean, I see your posts all the time. So I see what you post, but what else is happening, and anything that you want to talk about food wise?
So Bohemian Bull just opened recently in the Myrtles, in the area where the old Chicago Pizza was.
Right. What is that like?
I actually really, really enjoyed that. I think they're going to do really well in that location. I wasn't a huge fan of the old Chicago Pizza, so it's nice to have something that's.
You weren't a huge fan. We can say that now because they're no longer there. Yeah, I wasn't a fan either. Well, we wish them good luck. What's on their menu? And do you have any information on that?
Yeah, so they have delicious burgers, a lot of fun, unique quality burgers.
You and I just had one. You were generous enough to bring one along. It's quite good. Yeah. So anyway, they have all different types of specialty burgers. Can you give us an idea of like some of them?
So I just had the truffle burger today, which was delicious. It had provolone cheese, mushrooms, the truffle aioli, I guess. And just really good burgers. I love upgrading to the truffle fries and getting the truffle dip. There's a truffle mayo that I like to dip the fries in as well.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Yep, I love truffles. Could eat them every day if I could afford them. Do they have any other items on the menu besides hamburgers?
Yeah, they do. They have the steak and frites. Is that how you pronounce that? Steak and frites.
Yeah.
They have that. They have this dish that is fried Brussels sprouts, and it looks insanely delicious. I didn't get it personally, but I've seen some friends posting about it.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of unique things on the menu that I definitely want to go back and try. And their drinks are also really, really good too. I love craft cocktails, and they have some unique ones.
So what else? What else is happening?
So I was recently invited in to go to the Hard Rock Cafe, and I have not been there since the location when it was a pyramid, and I think it was like 2011. I was actually invited to do a little highlight on their spring menu back then.
Now, hold on. I'm going to cut you off. This is Amy Everhart, the Myrtle Beach Foodie Babe, who loves mom and pop places and actually agrees to go to the Hard Rock. I know there's more to this story than what it seems. So go ahead.
Yeah. So like you said, I'm a huge proponent of the mom and pop food scene around here. So when I was approached by Hard Rock, I definitely prejudged the experience before I went in, and I was totally blown away at the quality of the food, the service, just the flavors that were happening with the specific burger. It was called a messy burger.
What was on that?
It was caramelized onions. There was chorizo, thin slices of chorizo on it. There was a fried egg on the top. It just had so many flavors. I bit into it, and I just kept getting a little burst of something else and something else. And something else.
All right. So go ahead.
So that was very pleasantly surprising. Like I said, the service was amazing as well, which kind of led me to start thinking about my experiences are being curated by the best of the best. I had the best server in the restaurant, I'm confident, because she was absolutely amazing. And
did you say they knew you were coming in?
They did, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I feel like they knew I was coming. They had my name, my information. They knew the menu that I was going to be ordering. I just kind of was like wondering if I'm getting a better experience than most because they knew I was coming in. They knew exactly what I was going to order, which you don't. When somebody sits down and opens up the menu, you don't know what they're going to order. So
Right.
I definitely, it was a very shocking experience. It also kind of led to that question of like, are one of my followers or someone in the audience that's listening to me, are they going to have the same experience going in, I guess?
Yeah. You said it was very shocking to you. What do you mean by that?
I just really, I don't know. I just expected I didn't expect to like it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you probably thought it was going to be corporate style frozen bags of appetizers that they just throw into a deep fryer. But that's not what happened.
No.
You ended up enjoying it. So Sophia Eden from Content Food Critic, she and I had the same conversation a week or so ago. And the three of us were all in the same boat as far as we want, especially like you say, the mom and pop places, we want them to survive. But at the same time, we have a responsibility to our listeners to tell them the truth. Now, I said from day one, I'm not gonna bash anybody, because I've been there, and I just don't do that. But I've said this a million times. But and it seems like you and Sophia, we walk that fine line. What do we do about that? You had a wonderful experience at an enormous company, Hard Rock Cafe, but you don't know if it was because they knew you were coming. What do we do?
I don't have the answer to that. It's like I commented on the previous show when I tried a dish and went back a few days later, got the same dish, and it was completely different, like night and day.
Yeah.
It definitely poses the question of, are we going to get the same experience, I guess?
Yeah, and you started to say before about you had posted some reviews about places in the past, and then people would comment on them.
Mm-hmm, yeah, so there are a few people that will reach out and say, hey, I went to XYZ restaurant that you went to, and I had an awful experience. What do I say back to that? Like, sorry?
Well, it keeps coming back to what I've said right from the beginning, and I've gotten some pushback from this too, but I really don't care, is that food, and I'll take it a step further, food and the experience of dining is subjective. So all you can do is just keep being as honest as possible, and I know you are, you wouldn't be on the show, and just keep doing what you do. Because the bottom line is, and I don't have the science for this, the bottom line is you're helping a heck of a lot more people than you're hurting. What else is out there that you've seen?
So I wanted to comment, actually. We didn't talk about this previously, but when it comes to these chain restaurants, I really want to support mom and pop. But sitting in the Hard Rock Cafe and having this amazing service from someone who has actually shared the same name as my sister, shout out to you, Cassie, it really made me think that these are still employees employed by these large corporations that are in our community, and we need to support them as well. So just like I said, this was a very mind-boggling experience.
No, I can understand that. Yeah, I can understand that. And it's not something that happens, luckily, it's not something that happens all the time. What else? Where else have you been? What do you want to talk about food-wise?
So I recently went into Popeyes, which we have a new location in Myrtle Beach. It's so exciting because the Surfside location was absolutely terrible.
Another chain.
I've left that drive-through more times than I've eaten food in the establishment.
Left what drive-through?
The Popeyes in Surfside.
Uh-huh.
It just would take forever. And finally, you just get to a point where you're like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
But so we have a new one in Myrtle Beach. It's close to the Costco and the Walmart on Seaboard. And I haven't eaten Popeyes a lot in my life, maybe twice, honestly. And I was really blown away by the food quality. And I took my daughter a sandwich when I was picking her up from work because I knew she was going to be hungry. And she was like, Mom, this is so good. And the next day I picked her up from work and she was like, can you take me back?
Oh, wow.
She wanted another sandwich. Yeah. And for her, she's a huge Chick-fil-A sandwich lover.
Oh,
and
wow.
She was like, I think this is better than Chick-fil-A. And I recently found out, I don't know if you were aware of this, but back in the day, McDonald's used to cook their fries in beef tallow. Supposedly, Popeyes does still to this day.
Oh,
cook
I'd love to
their
look
food in
into
beef
that.
tallow.
I would love to do a deep dive into that.
Yes, me too. So that's so much healthier than these Franken oils that have come around, soybean oil, veggie, whatever, all these different oils that just aren't the best for our bodies. So that kind of put a whole nother level on Popeyes, who is again a chain.
Have you tried their dirty rice?
Yes. It's
Oh
so good.
man, I got to tell you something. This is could be a bit embarrassing. Working for the Hollywood stars, right? Then I open up this restaurant, very, very proud of it. And right down the street was a Popeyes. And I would literally go there for their biggest version of dirty rice. And that's all I would get. Yeah.
So good. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it. What else? Anything else you want to talk about food-wise, restaurant-wise, food truck-wise?
So Poppy Car is coming out with a new menu here soon, and they've invited me to come try it, and just looking forward to all the exciting changes that they're making. And I love seeing how far they've come.
Yeah, they were on last week, and they are two absolute gems.
Literally.
I just loved both Fernando and his wife, Ginny of Papa Car. I forgot to ask him why you have to say it 2 times.
I'm not sure either, because on the truck it's only once.
Maybe they're trying to save money that way.
Maybe.
Yeah. So they have a new menu out. You were telling me off the air about a burger that they did.
Yes, their burgers aren't the traditional style, like just hand patty the meat, throw it on the grill with a little bit of seasoning. It tasted more like a meatloaf to me.
Oh.
A lot more herbs and things in it.
Wow.
But yeah, my husband commented that it was a little different from a traditional burger, which I don't find anything wrong with that. I just wouldn't be like, hey, go here for a burger, and then you're going to be like, that kind of wasn't a burger, because it's more like a meatloaf style patty, but it was still delicious. They were really, really good with flavors.
You know, that's that whole area of food, Caribbean style of food, that just adds all of those different herbs and spices that we aren't traditionally familiar with. And it's such a refreshing difference when you start, because I had asked Fernando, you know, if he could tell the listeners, you know, the basic differences between Puerto Rican food and Mexican food, because Mexican, as far as the Latin culture is concerned, is the one that we're most familiar with. And he said, oh, it's completely different. And he started to explain why, and it kind of gave a good picture of what the differences are.
I recently went to 45th Ave Crab House and Bar with Sophia, and we went for the Maryland style crab cake, which is absolutely delicious. But we ended up getting these raw oysters that were some of the best oysters I've ever tasted. And it's so funny talking about how people have different palates and things. Sophia picked up on the sweetness, where I picked up on the extra brininess of the exact same oysters.
Do you know if they were local oysters?
They were, yeah.
They were. What's really surprising to me, and surprised me when I first arrived here in the Grand Strand, South Carolina in general, was the popularity of steamed, roasted oysters. As a matter of fact, last weekend I went to the oyster roast here in Murrells Inlet, and I knew, because I'd been there before, what to expect. I actually prefer the raw oysters, but I haven't heard of any place that, you know, that's their specialty. But so you would suggest this place?
Yeah, and I actually suggested it to a gentleman that my husband and I just met at the bar at New England Fish and Seafood and Raw Bar. It just opened in Carolina Forest not too long ago. But he was there eating oysters, and we got to talking about it. And I told him, I said, listen, you got to go check this place out. And we had him over for dinner the other night, and he was like, I went there. And I was like, what did you think? And he goes, they were really, really good.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so say the name again.
45th Ave Crab House and Deli, and Bar.
45th
Ave Crab House and Bar.
Oh, that's yet another good one. So we've done Bohemian Bowl, which you like. You actually liked the Hard Rock Cafe, even though it's a big, giant, unbelievably wealthy chain. You liked it? Good experience? You had a good experience at Popeyes and the great dirty rice there. 45th and Main for their oysters. Anything else? And you have an event coming up that you'd like to talk about.
Yeah, so there's a spring cake and sip event being hosted by Cake Creations by Brusain. She's a local cake artist. I'm going to just call it what it is. She's phenomenal at decorating cakes. And she is hosting this event where she's going to be doing a live cake decorating class. And it's March 29th at 4 p.m. and I'm personally going to try my best to make it out to it. But I definitely think it's going to be a fun time, and felt like I should just give a little shout out for her. She's the sweetest person. If you've ever tried her baked goods,
I was just going to say, bottom line is it good? What have you tried there?
She made me this adorable little cake for Mother's Day. It was a small mini cake with 4 small cupcakes around it. It was just a vanilla cake, a little more dense, wasn't as soft, but it was delicious. It wasn't overly sweet, the icing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can just be too sweet.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a nice little balance.
Actually, I don't know what too sweet means.
You sound like my daughter.
Yeah, no, I don't know that. Speaking of your daughter, are we talking about your daughter, the baker?
Mm-hmm.
Is she still afraid to come on the show?
Mm-hmm.
How is her business going? She has a Facebook...
So Delicioso Desserts.
Delicioso Desserts. Can't miss. So can we get her to come on?
I can try. I was talking to my husband. I thought maybe if I tell her, I'll go with her. And
Yeah,
we'll come
definitely. I wouldn't
together.
have it any other way. You know, I love to see young people who are getting involved in this business, what direction they're going, where they think they want to go. It's just so interesting to me to be at that age, to see people at that age and just absolutely loving what they do. Speaking of afraid to come on the show, I'm not saying that these people are afraid to come on the show. What is the deal, do you think? Is it just that I'm not popular enough? But I reached out to the chef at Perrone's, Chef Stephen Perrone, and I also reached out to the chef, Adam, don't know his last name, at Bistro 217. I don't even get a return phone call.
Yeah, Adam Kirby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is.
You know, maybe it's the way I present it, because this certainly, you know, my motivation is not publicity. I mean, you know me well enough to know. I mean,
Yeah,
we
you
sat.
just want to talk about food.
Yeah, we sat for a half an hour. You were kind enough to bring me a hamburger, and we sat and we just talked about food. We didn't even talk about what we were going to talk about on the show, because, you know, I like it to be spontaneous. So maybe I'll try again, but I'm certainly not going to lose sleep over it. There's certainly enough great restaurants in the Grand Strand. Amy Everhart, you folks know her as the Myrtle Beach Foodie Babe. Can't thank you enough for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for having
It's
me.
always a pleasure. I could have you in every week. Make sure you follow her on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget the Scoop on Myrtle Beach Facebook page. That's Flavio's Facebook page. Boy, we covered a lot of ground. We talked about surf dogs in Surfside Beach. Well, actually, it was my buddy Jack Gregory that turned me on to that place. Great hot dogs. But Flavio also mentioned Take a Bite Burger in Conway. Can't wait to check that out. We both talked about Black Cat Kitchen. Fantastic food truck. Scotto's Pizza in Myrtle Beach. Two Taco. They're in Myrtle Beach and in Surfside. Great, great Mexican place. He mentioned Martini for fine dining in Myrtle Beach. I got to check that place out. But he also mentioned croissants in Myrtle Beach. Zayton for breakfast and lunch in Myrtle Beach. That's a Mediterranean flair to it. As a matter of fact, Amy Everhart, she likes that too. Sol Luna, Mexican food. Bohemian Bull in Surfside. It's a new restaurant. They've taken over what used to be Chicago Pizza. Amy Everhart, like the Hard Rock Cafe. She also likes 45th Avenue Crab House and Bar and Cake Creations by Brucine. So that's a lot of restaurants to talk about, and we did that here today on Talking About Food. So that's going to wrap it up. Always remember, you are your family's private chef. Thanks for listening.